What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Reality Kingdom, where we put the real in reality or whatever. Period. The fuck. I'm your host, Pharaoh. We're joined by our wonderful co-host, Casper, the friendly ghost, because we're here alone. But we're finna get into this motherfucking tea because, child, Tucker has gone wild. And not in the way that we want him to go wild. Well, I mean, some, but not all. I don't know, y'all. It's a lot going on in the motherfucking Big Brother house currently. Not now where Lee at, child. Lee is resting in bed. Lee is a little sick. And I was a little sick, but I feel better. But now Lee is a little sick. So now we here. But we here. But the tea is Mr. Tucker has blown up the entire motherfucking house. If you are a visual learner, go ahead and go to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, all of that. Boom. If you're a visual learner, make sure you're looking at the motherfucking screen because this is the house and there's a lot going on. So, what we saw this week was Cedric was, of course, the HOH. He had his nominees, Kenny, Tucker, and Angela, all whom have decided to volunteer to be on the block. Tucker won the power of veto, and that is what led us into this big situation that we have currently. So Tucker wins the power of veto, and he comes up with this plan. Now, to talk about this plan, we have to go to the origin, and the origin is actually Chemo, his crushie, because Chemo had verified to Tucker after Angela told Tucker that Quinn had this power. When Chemo verified this, Tucker had it in his mind from then on that Makensy and Quinn gotta go. They have these powers. I'm sick of the powers. They have to get out of this game, etc., etc., etc. He's been on this one-track mind, no shade, ever since that situation. And he brought this concept to this week when he won the power of veto. So he won the veto. He went to Cedric and Kenny with this plan. And this was after he had already told Cam about Quinn's power. He already hinted to Rabina and Chelsea about Quinn's power. He's clearly been pressed about it. He goes to Cam, Cedric, Kenny with this plan. And the plan is, fuck it, yo. I'm going to use the veto. We're here to play Big Brother. Let's make sure we get this shit rolling. So he wants to use the veto not on himself, but on Angela, making sure that him and Kenny are able to play in the AI arena and beat Quinn, who Cedric should renom because he's working with the entire house. He's building alliances over here, over there, over where, and we need to get this power out. So when this conversation happened, at first, it seemed like Cedric and Cam were in agreement. They left that conversation. They was like, well, shit, he's low-key spilling. Quinn is trying to play all sides. We do need to get him out some way. But they didn't really know how to work this situation with the Pentagon and the collective existing, which is why I always say, make an alliance, be an active player, because just the fact that Quinn's in an alliance with them, it mitigates this entire plan. Now, this entire plan is not something that can really happen because we would have to turn against the entire alliance. We would have to turn against our two power structures, which is not possible because there are power structures and it would ruin it. So it's like, really, at the end of the day, what this lesson should tell people is that make an alliance. Make sure you get into the alliance because it really prevents shit like this happening. Because low key, Cedric and Cam did want to nominate Quinn. They did want to go with the plan. They did want to backdoor him. Angela, she's calling out Cedric, kind of trying to shade my man. She needs to keep it cute, but calling out Cedric, talking about some, I don't think this is what you wanted to do. I think you did want to nom Quinn. And it's like, low-key, she's right, because Cedric did want to take Quinn out. He does feel like Quinn is a threat to him. The issue was he felt like he can't do it with this entire alliance being what he's going with. If he's going to go with the collective, he's going to go with the Pentagon, he can't make this move. He has to tell the alliance. He has to tell the Pentagon. So Cedric came up with the plan. No shade, no thanks to Cam. But Cedric was like, look, what we need to do is we need to tell the Pentagon. At first, they were like, should we tell Chelsea? Should we tell Brooklyn? And Cam wasn't for it. He was like, no, we shouldn't tell them about the power. We should keep the power of wraps. But what we should do is, which is what Cedric came up with, is we're going to have to throw Tucker and Kenny under the bus to the Pentagon, and we're going to have to mitigate Quinn for as long as possible, because once this comes out, Quinn's going to have to target Tucker. He has to target Kenny. He still has to target Angela, and he doesn't have time to potentially target us, which is what they thought he was going to do, which I do think is T. So what he did was enact that plan. They had a Pentagon meeting, and Cedric let everyone in the Pentagon know that Tucker and Kenny approached them with this plan. They're trying to take Quinn out. They did not mention the fact that he had this power in this meeting before the veto. This was before the veto. They didn't mention the fact that Quinn had a power. All they mentioned was that there was this plan made to have them backdoor Quinn because he's in all these alliances and we need to take them out, etc., etc. But they didn't mention the power. Now, I will say, chat, I don't necessarily think that the best play was to not tell Chelsea and Brooklyn about the power at first, because what Cedric and Cam's goal is to not take out Quinn now and deal with him later. But what they could have used this moment is as a moment to set up the pieces against him, with specifically Chelsea and Brooklyn. They could have shut him out from that situation, and I don't think they did that because they never gave them any of the info beforehand. If Cam and Cedric would have went to Chelsea or Brooklyn or both and been like, Quinn has a power, he told Chemo about it, he didn't tell none of us about it, da 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 da, then the mistrust when it comes to Quinn could be more of a focal point. They're not worried about all the chaos that Tucker has caused because all they have right now is just the info that Quinn has been lying to them. But since Cedric and Cam didn't tell them this info before the veto ceremony, now we see Chelsea and Brooklyn are kind of only worried about how Tucker and Kenny are causing all this chaos and they're all trying to get the boys together and da 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 da. When Cedric and Cam should have wanted their focus to be more on the fact that Quinn has been lying to them the whole game. Quinn's closer to Chemo instead of us. He's telling Chemo stuff instead of us. And now they can't really control that narrative. And I think that is one of the mistakes that they made with this plan. But in general, I feel like this plan is kind of what they just had to do. I think there was not a better way of going about it other than maybe pulling Chelsea and Brooklyn to the side and telling them beforehand than what he did, which was he ended up just telling them how they were turning against him. And then we slide into the veto ceremony. And when we come back from the veto ceremony, what it seems like happened is that Tucker did think the plan was on. Even though, mind you, Cedric came to Tucker this morning and he said, you need to use the veto on yourself. It doesn't look like we're going to have the votes to take Quinn out. We can't do this plan. And Tucker said, I'm going to do it anyways, and got up and walked away. And it's like, now we see Tucker's super, super pressed at Cedric about it. But Cedric told Tucker exactly what he was going to do. And he told him this wasn't going to work. And he told them the plan was scrapped. I know it wasn't a long conversation, but I don't know. Tucker acting like he never warned him. He warned him. So anyways, what it looks like what happened at the veto is that Tucker used his power veto on Angela and called out probably Quinn and Makensy, because when the feeds come back, Quinn and Makensy are kind of going back and forth a little bit with Tucker. So it looks like he called them out about having their powers. It looks like he exposed the powers because we see afterwards people discussing exactly what it does. We see even Chemo is like apologizing to Cedric about like, oh, and I'm sorry, I don't want to make it seem like I feel. So it's like, I think he could have even exposed the fact that Chemo knew a little bit, because it just seems like everyone kind of has all those details. So he uses the veto on Angela is what it seems like. And Makensy was renommed. And then Makensy used her power because she didn't feel comfortable next to Tucker and Kenny. She felt more comfortable next to Angela. So she's like, fuck all of that. I'm going to actually use my power. So now the current nominees are Tucker, who didn't veto himself, and Kenny, who is still on the block. And America is going to have to name this replacement nominee. Now, Chad is asking, who would you vote for America's veto? Now, listen. Oh, shout out to MW. Shout out to MW, child. I'm gagged that Tucker actually did hit girl. And listen, I do like the chaos. I like that he caused I like the results of the chaos that he caused. I would rather them kind of do this little cute little we got to readjust our games. And I saw Kevin Jacobs from Big Brother Canada have a tweet as well. And he was like, what I appreciate about Tucker is that he's forcing players to have to readjust their games and kind of play smarter. I like that part, that effect that Tucker's game has. I like that Cedric had to come up with this big brain plan to handle Quinn. I like that Quinn's going to have to readjust his game to handle this situation. I like that Kimo and Tikora are going to have to figure out what are they going to do now that that's kind of exposed. I do like that it's challenging the players, but I don't necessarily like players like Tucker. I don't like players a little bit like Zach Rance. I feel like they both have this same effect on the game where it's just random and it's not smart and it's just obviously stupid. Like y'all are saying in the chat, Tucker's going home. Like this isn't a good move, and it's like it's a double-edged sword because I feel like it creates a layer of the game that we don't typically see. The fact that Cedric had to come up with, we've never seen someone in the majority of Alliance realize that someone was trying to flip on it because of a chaotic player kind of just snitched that out. Like that doesn't happen often. So I like that we're getting this scenario that we don't usually get. But Tucker himself as a player, I could do without. I could do it without. And I'll just say that because he just do too much, you know? And that's just me personally. If y'all love him, y'all love him. Congratulations. So yeah, when it comes to who I'm voting for the replacement nominee, me personally, I have had a personal vendetta against Quinn since the beginning of the game because he's been saying Cedric's name. I feel like he's not the best player for my faves, which is really Cedric. That's that side of the world, Cedric side of the world. So me personally, I'm voting Quinn. Lee is going to vote Joseph just because that's the second most likely person to get votes other than Quinn. And Lee feels like for T-Core's game that Quinn is a little bit better. And I will agree that in this moment, especially when it comes to the collective, Quinn being there is more helpful for T-Core because he's so hyper-focused on how scary Cedric, Chelsea, Cam, and Brooklyn are. So if you want Quinn to stay, but that's the thing. I will say, I don't think Quinn's going to get evicted regardless if he's the renom. I think there's a chance that the players might think, okay, wait, maybe Tucker is fully justified if America literally renoms Quinn. I'm renomming Quinn. If he goes home, I don't give a fuck. But if you're a T-Core stan, I do think nomming Joseph is fine. Joseph's not going to go either. Kenny will probably go. And Kenny is worse for T-Core's game than anybody. So, or Tucker will go. And at this moment, Tucker not helping nobody either. No shade. So, it's up to y'all. Me personally, I'm voting Quinn. Okay. Thank you. Joseph's name is in it only because the Facebook girlies don't like Joseph. I guess they think he's a bore. I mean, I don't know. Joseph's one of my faves. I love Joseph. Shout out to Joseph. I'm not voting him, but hey, there you go. So after this aftermath, what we see Makensy and Tucker, they're talking. And at first I'm like, are they arguing? But I think they're more on the same page. I've been seeing on Twitter a lot of these people who have like sides of the game. And essentially, the little size they're saying is basically the collective and then everybody else. You can look at the screen grab and see it. People are kind of insinuating, okay, Makensy and Tucker seem kind of on the same page. They're both a little mad at Quinn. Angela's, of course, mad at Quinn. Kenny's, of course, is on Tucker's side, and Lee is with Makensy. So people are kind of trying to, people like there being a split in the house, but in reality, there's not really a split. I don't think Makensy and Tucker are just going to work together from here on. I don't think Kenny, Leah, Makensy, and Tucker are going to link up. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I really just think it's still, for the most part, just going to be the collective. A lot of the collective are backing Cedric and Quinn. They're like, Tucker is doing too much. Kenny is doing too much. Both of them can go. Cedric has said if the noms stay the same and Tucker doesn't win AI Arena, he needs to go. Chelsea has kind of said she prefers Kenny to go. Either way, what it sounds like is Kenny or Tucker will go this week, and then the next week, Kenny or Tucker will probably be the main target because of this move they tried to pull, to be honest. Personally, I don't necessarily care. For Cedric's game, Tucker going is very important because Tucker is walking around calling Cedric a little boy who don't know what he's talking about. He's my main target. I'm going after him, and then I'm going after Quinn next. So Tucker is a very big threat to like Cedric's game specifically, and Quinn's game specifically. So they should want Tucker to go. Chelsea and Brooklyn should want Kenny to go. So it's kind of like, is Chelsea and Brooklyn going to get what they want, or is Cedric and Quinn going to get what they want? And I think Chelsea and Brooklyn kind of have the leverage in this moment because Cedric can't vote and Quinn doesn't have a lot of social capital right now because his game just got smashed. So I do think Chelsea and Brooklyn can kind of push this Kenny going narrative, which is better for them because Kenny's after them or whatever. So yeah, we saw there was a few arguments because Tucker and Makensy kind of argue right after the situation. And then Tucker's going around kind of saying all these things about Cedric, of course. He's having multiple different conversations saying he's going to take out Cedric. We see Quinn and Angela. They don't show this combo because they're weird, but they start bickering in the living room, in the kitchen, and they're basically bickering about the fact that Angela, I guess, is still trying to accuse him of lying in some sort. And he's basically like, this is what you've done to a lot of people. We saw you do this to Matt. We saw you do this to homegirl in the kitchen. So they're arguing and bickering about something as well. I'm assuming Quinn being a liar because Quinn has said things to Angela. And I think Angela's feeling like this is my chance to expose it. And then we see, of course, her go to Cedric and basically be like, you could have took him out. He is a big threat. This was a golden apple handed to you. So Angela's doing her Angela thing. There's been arguments here and there, but I really think what we can conclude from this is that, in my opinion, this just more solidified the collective in the Pentagon. Joseph, Quinn, Cam, Chelsea, Brooklyn, Chemo, Tikor, they've all defended, not really Tikor and Chemo, I will say. They gonna keep it cute. But most of them have defended Cedric and Quinn and have said that, and Chelsea and Brooklyn have had conversations about how they feel like Quinn would have like used the power to help them, and they don't necessarily feel like Quinn did anything wrong. And Cedric is now saying to Tikor he feels like Quinn would have used the power to help them. So it's kind of just gone under the rug that Quinn has done anything bad. So at this moment, and honestly, I think that's okay for Cedric and Cam since everyone else kind of doesn't trust Quinn anymore. Leah has stopped trusting Quinn. She started talking shit about him to Cam. She told Cam that Quinn was the one who was spreading seeds about making her distrust Cam. Rubina doesn't feel like she can trust Quinn anymore because she trusts Tucker, and because Tucker's pushing this narrative, she feels like she can't really trust Quinn. So Quinn's power that he had in this game is really broken down, and all he can do is rely on the Pentagon. I think he needs to fully backtrack on all that, flip it on the Pentagon, flip it on whoever, because at this moment he just doesn't have the social capital, honestly. So that's kind of where we're at. We're really just waiting to see who America renoms. I don't think that person will go home, but I do think it'll be interesting to see how the players react to that. Do y'all have any questions, any comments, concerns, etc., in the chat that I can answer? Because this was kind of a lot going on, but I think at the end of the day, it really just solidifies the majority alliances. Like, it was almost like we couldn't even say, is the Pentagon running it? Is the collect? But now, after this week, I think going into next week, it's the collective, it's the Pentagon. Everyone else outside is going to go home for the most part. What did you think of Tikor telling Angela she is glad she is safe? Tikor tells everyone what they want to hear. And I had my exit interview with Lisa. Go check that out. And my one with Matt. Go check that out. And both of them mentioned how they feel like Tikor is someone who could definitely win this game. And I definitely agree. Why are Leah and Cam fighting? Girl, no comment. Cam pisses me the fuck off because literally Cedric's whole damn game done got blew up a little bit. Tucker's arguing with people. The powers are exposed. His alliance is confused, and he's outside arguing with Leah. I need him to lock the fuck in. Do you think Tucker is doing all this just because he wants to go home? Maybe. I know people did say he was giving he wasn't giving that he seemed the most healthy. It didn't seem like he slept a lot. So I guess he could be, but I just think Tucker would have did this regardless. Me personally. Who do you think America will vote for? These votes tend to favor towards the Facebook people, and the Facebook people are having a lot of people want to vote Joseph and a lot of people want to vote Quinn. It's either Joseph or Quinn. I hope it's Quinn, but it could be Joseph. Honestly, it could be either. Quinn will be a more interesting response from the House. I think the House might have a little bit more to say if it's Quinn. If it's Joseph, they just gonna think it's random, I feel. Is Quinn cool with Cedric? I don't know. He should be because he's been Cedric's biggest op all season for no reason. But Cedric has fully shown, and that was his plan. His plan was to, if we show how loyal we are to Quinn, he got to wrap all that other shit up. And it really, I think, is what Quinn has no choice but to get over this Cedric beef. He really has no choice. He doesn't have wiggle room anymore. He has to just solidify with the Pentagon, which is why I think in the meeting when Cedric and Cam exposed the plan, Quinn immediately started saying, yeah, Rubina is trying to make this thing with me, Chemo, T-Core, and Tucker. And I think, of course, he's trying to save his ass. And I think he immediately started backpedaling kind of what he was trying to do because he knows he needs to sit in his protective place, which is with the Pentagon at the bottom now, because that's what you wanted to be so bad. No shade, because I don't think he had to be in such a precarious position if he would have just shut up. He just did a lot of talking, and I think that's what messed him up for sure. So yeah. Why is Tucker saying he blindsided? Girl, silly. And it's no shade. Boom. Shout out to MW. MW says, Simp Lord Cam. Oh. LOL. And I'm voting Quinn. He can go. I agree, but I'm good on Joseph going. You know what I was saying? I was saying low key, it's a lot of people who it is no shade. They low key could go for me. I actually prefer. I'm not the biggest fan of Quinn because he's been coming for Cedric, but other than my bias with Cedric, I like Quinn. I like that he's providing something for the game. I even like that a little bit that Joseph is providing something. But some of these people, and it's no shade, Rubina, Leah, Angela, Kenny, look at this bottom row. The bottom row can go for me, and I'm not going to blink an eye. Chemo can go as well. And honestly, Joseph can. It's just, in honesty, I think this game is so on the same, everyone is kind of such on the same playing field that I don't think anyone is going to drastically hurt me if they leave, unless it's one of my faves. And I only have a handful of faves. So I really don't, and that's just me personally. I could see someone else having one other random fave and that be the one person they care. I think this season is just so good in the sense that everyone is likable in their own way, that if one person leaves, I'm going to be fine because I have 500 other people that I can still watch play the game, and vice versa. Like if Rubina randomly leaves this week, I'm still going to have a good season. If Joseph leaves, I'm still going to have a good season. If Quinn leaves, I'm still going to have a good season. I really feel like this season is going to be dynamic regardless, because I think some people are forgetting, girl, it's still 6 people at the bottom of this group. Like, sure, Quinn leaves, and it's like, oh, dang, maybe the Pentagon won't work. And then, boom, Makensy wins HOH, and now I'm Cedric and Cam. And it's like, anything can happen this season. I really still feel like it's all over the place. Do y'all find Chemo boring? I find Chemo boring. I think he is probably going to be able to be a good player because of how reserved and unreactive he is. But I'm not I don't need him, me personally. You know, did Lisa give you? I'm not gonna read this. All right, y'all, because y'all playing in the chat, please. Anyways, that's the update. Very dynamic information. Make sure you just check out for what goes on really Wednesday and Thursday, because we don't necessarily know how this power works. We don't know. They don't have to announce it Wednesday. I think they will, but they don't have to. They could announce it Thursday and say, vote now, ho. So it's really keep up with the episode. See when you can send in your vote. Send in your vote for Quinn. Thank you. Or whoever you want. And boom, move forward from there. I'm excited. It's a good season. Make sure you're here on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we will be doing the full live feed recap of this week, and we will be getting into more details with some guests, of course. So make sure you're there on Tuesday. Make sure you subscribe and like, and then make sure you're there on Thursday when we do our eviction breakdown. After the eviction episode, we don't know who's going home. It could be Tucker, could be Kenny, could be the Renom. So definitely tune into Thursday as well. We're also covering other shows. Get into that shit or whatever. And thank you for keeping it real with the kingdom. We out. Bye.